Good morning, y'all. Hope you're doing well today. So in today's message, I'm going to try another unscripted video. We'll see how it goes. I kind of enjoy it because, doing that, and I encourage you to do this too, to break patterns sometimes in your life because it can give you perspective. So there's like this comfort to thinking everything through in a video in my mind first and making notes. And then here's the crazy thing that happens. It's like when I go to present that to you all and I'm reading through my notes, there's like this disconnect. It's like I'm having to recall, why did I put that down? And then what was the connection? Like, what was I thinking to go from this point to this point? And I have to try and fill in the blanks if I can't recall it. And so most of the time I can, most of the time it's not a problem, but it's almost like when you're just speaking in the moment, you're in this state of flow. And so, just something to think about, you know what I mean? But I hope you enjoy the message today, and I'm going to share with you just this overarching theme that I have in mind, and that is what's in a name? What is in a name, right? Like what's the importance of a name? And I would when I say name, I mean that to extend over into meaning the same thing as like a label or a word that defines something too, okay? So this morning, well, first of all, let me share this with you. This morning I woke up and I was thinking about my old podcast. I did a podcast a few years ago and I really enjoyed doing it. And I didn't get super far with it. I completed one season, but it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I had to lay it down for a little while because my life got busy and there were a lot of things going on. And so I was thinking again about doing a podcast, and I've been thinking for a while about some different ideas for some YouTube videos beyond what I'm currently doing, where I just share my thoughts on different information and different perspectives to get us thinking, right? Like I always say, to get the wheels turning. I have other ideas for YouTube videos, but they're so different. It's still along the same lines as far as the topic, but the application will be so different. It made me think, what a lot of people do is they have a second channel just to differentiate between their offerings, right? What they can offer their viewers. Because if you don't do that, then your viewers are going to expect every time they get a notification if they're subscribed, for example, they're going to expect, a certain thing. So expectations are a big part of our discussion today too, okay? And so then when you just throw something different in there that's unexpected, then it kind of, it may be off-putting to some people, and would, rightfully so, because that may not be why they subscribe to start with. But then on the flip side, I subscribe to some channels that have a variety of things they offer, and I love that. It's like different series and things like that. And so I personally really like that. So I'm kind of on the fence right now. I'm kind of torn about how to go about this. I'll share with you some ideas I have, and if you feel called to give me your opinion, I would love to hear it in the comment section. But I'm thinking about extending our method of healing beyond just getting the wheels turning in these discussions. And one way would be just something that would be like maybe a 20 minute video. Some of them may be a little bit shorter, 15 minutes or so, where it's just the video is like a surprise drawing, because this is my background in art, right? And it would be something that would be very easy for everyone, even if you don't have a background in art. And it would be something where we're having fun with the details without knowing the outcome of what the end result's going to be in the picture. So it's something where we can kind of draw something together, bit by bit, piece by piece, and then you wind up with this little complete drawing, and it's just fun. It's only for fun. It's for the process. It's just to bring peace into your life, because I know that healing can be very stressful. It's just to get your mind off of things. If you have if you're struggling with anxiety or depression. And so it's just another mode of healing. It's just another method for us to approach healing. And so that was one of my ideas. And then let me share with you another idea that's really kind of brewing this morning, and I'll tell you why first. So I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but on if you have like home cameras, if you're walking through your house at night and you have your cell phone in your hand, your home camera, especially if it has like a night vision mode, it can pick up light that your eyes cannot detect. And I don't know, I'm assuming this is what they call infrared light, but what's really strange is that your phone on your home camera footage, your phone will look like it's flashing like constant light, or like a pattern of light up at your face if you're looking at it. But you don't see that when you're looking at it. You see what I'm saying? So I actually Googled that, and nobody's really sure, or at least I didn't find a resource online where it was definite, like definitely determined the reason for this. But other people have noticed it. It's not like easily found online, but if you dig around, you'll find where there's been a few people who have noticed the same thing. And so that in itself is really interesting. If you consider, what are the effects of flashing lights in your eyes? Something to think about, right? Especially if it's that much. If you saw how much it was, and maybe I'll share a clip with you all one day. Excuse me. But it's crazy. Get a little bit of coffee and water. So, and a lot of people have concerns about like, I think they call it blue light with your phone. And I don't know if you guys do this, but I enjoy laying in bed when I'm trying to, unwind. I can't just go from being like 100% to zero and just get in bed and be that disciplined that I can just turn everything off and go to sleep. I like to have just a little bit of like this time to relax, and sometimes I like to lay there and watch, just some little comedy clips and laugh. Laughing is very healing. And so I just really enjoy that winding down process, laying in bed before I drift off to sleep, right? And of course, that's what I do. I'm holding my phone. And so I'm sure a lot of people are that way. But you have to wonder, really and truly, when we get older, are we going to suffer some effects from all this, with our vision? And so it's something to think about. So it just kind of reminded me of my old podcast, and I thought, well, that might be fun. I could do, and I may do it, I may publish it if I do move forward with this, both on YouTube. It's like what they call a black screen where you can't see anything. Because if you're like me, I know you could be listening to this right now and not watching, but if you're like me, if you can watch, you're going to watch. So it's almost like it just takes that completely away. It helps you along with that discipline, just to have that black screen, the blank screen on the video. And so there's no point in looking at it, and that way you can lay your phone down next to you and just have your earbuds in. You can just lay in bed and just close your eyes and relax and just listen. And I know there's tons of other podcasts that already exist out there, but I thought if there are people who do enjoy my channel, maybe they would enjoy just a special podcast as well to listen to at night. And so, and I thought the topics for nighttime would just be light, just kind of discussing just kind of the same thing what we do now on my channel, but just more lighthearted, not because I don't like to think about anything too crazy right before I go to sleep. And it's unfortunate, but there are actually toxic people who when they learn the things that really stress you out or that you're afraid of, they can weaponize that against you. And if you pay attention, you may catch them in a pattern of bringing up these particular stressful topics at night to kind of get your blood pressure up when you're supposed to be relaxing. And it's something that if it's a very noticeable pattern and you can put your finger on it, then I definitely think that that's one tactic, unfortunately, that manipulators use, controlling toxic people use. I have a lot of different terms or names or words to call these people, and they're all flooding my mind, but I don't want to say them. So those are some thoughts, and I thought, maybe I could just have a second channel called, Southern Bell Rising, Healing Circle, or Healing, it's not really a circle unless, I collaborated, I guess, but like just healing tactics, or healing practices, or something like that. I don't know. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But what's in a name? What's in a name? That's the topic I want to go into today. And what was really cool is when I got my coffee this morning, they remembered my name, and I actually didn't use my card. I had cash. I've been paying cash a little bit more often lately, and so they genuinely remembered my name and put it on my cup. Both my cups. I get water and coffee too when I go, but it was just really sweet, and it reminded me of Cheers, that old show that was on TV called Cheers, and that was their theme song. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but don't you want to go, where everybody knows your name, right? Where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. And I'm not a singer, but in other words, it's comforting, right? It's like a feeling of belonging. You matter enough for people to remember your name. So that was not a show that I just really liked. It was popular when I was a kid, but I was just aware of it, and I was actually fortunate enough when I went to visit a friend many years ago out in California, in Los Angeles. There was a little movie museum, really small, that had just some different artifacts and even some sets. So props and sets from different shows, and I got to see some props from the X-Files, and I got to see the bar from Cheers, and I got to sit there and get my picture taken. I'll share that with you guys one day if I can find that picture. But anyway, I was just reminded of that. It was a fun trip. Only time I've ever been to California, but it was a lot of fun. Went to the Santa Monica pier as well. I don't know if they still have it, but back then they had like this big Ferris wheel, and it was just a really fun time. It was really cool. But anyway, what's in a name? So here's the thing. Names, words, labels are very interesting to think about, because they are closely aligned with expectations. Okay, and I understand how language is important to make sure when you're communicating with another person that you're on the same page, that you understand one another. I truly get that. But when you have different expectations and things like that, it gets kind of muddy, you might say. And so let me share with you just some thoughts around this. Okay, so my grandmother got so mad, and this was not too awful long before she passed away, but she was so angry because she wanted to buy a new armchair, and she was going to send a check with her son, my uncle, to go pick up the armchair that she had already, been by the showroom and tried out. She liked it and all this stuff. She's like, here, just, I'll write this check and you take it up there, and, you can pay for it that way. And he was like, I don't know if they'll take, somebody else's check. And she's like, oh no, I've bought a lot of things from them, right? I've done a lot of business with them. They know me. Okay. So have you ever noticed, like, especially older people, in our time now today, they still retain that older frame of reference mindset from back in the day when everything, business was done on a handshake. Your name meant something, and it was kind of like my point is, there was this level of trust that people could have among one another in the community. And so sure enough, they wouldn't accept it and all this, and I don't even know if they told her that or if they just bought it. I can't remember what went down with that whole story. But she got so upset at even the thought of, them not, acknowledging, hey, I'm a great customer. They know me and, they can trust me, to want to be trusted. And that's the thing. Because unfortunately, it is those narcissistic people, the people who are basically criminals, who have created so much distrust among all of us that it affects all of us, not just in our personal lives. Now we struggle to trust one another, but even in the community, you can't even just certainly can't do business on a handshake. And I understand that, like, as a business owner, you wouldn't want to risk your business, your livelihood like that. I get it. I understand the need for security. I do. But my point here is just, it's sad, isn't it, that just this small percentage of the population with bad intentions can ruin so much for the rest of us. And so when you think about what's in a name, see these people operate behind a facade, and a lot of them have, I imagine, just false identities. They steal identities and things like that. And so you can't go off of the surface level anymore. You just can't do it. You don't even know if that's their real name, stuff like that. So it's just really sad. But we can always take this deeper, and this is where, I just encourage you, if you have interest, to just expand, like I always say, on this topic, and just journal. And I believe that if you approach this topic or any topic with a heartfelt, genuine interest, and it's going to be like that Bible verse, knock and the door shall be opened, seek and you shall find. It's like it has to be genuine and earnest. Then I believe you will start to experience this flood of information, where you'll be able to connect dots and make sense of some things, and maybe just learn just by I think that we take a lot of information in just in our life without even really trying. And so that's why I think the practice of sitting and contemplating and journaling, or doing video journaling, whatever it is, which is kind of what I do, but I share it with you all. Now I do. Used to, I did video journaling and I never shared it, but that process in itself takes what you have been exposed to or what you have experienced. Even when you weren't fully awake, it registered, somewhere in your mind. And so it takes all that, and it starts to, create that process of understanding. Again, like that Bible verse I just shared with y'all that I do a lot, that I love. Wisdom is the principal thing. And here's the second step. With all your getting of wisdom, right, get understanding. So that understanding is like a process. And that's what that is pulling all that stuff together that you've experienced, making sense of it, getting understanding, gaining understanding. And so, if you think about one practice you can do is you can take symbols that are hot right now in our culture, in our society, and write them down. And you can kind of research if you want, or even in your own mind you may be able to recall, what did these symbols used to stand for versus what do they stand for today. And I want you to compare the difference. And then another thing you can do is with words too. And as an example, you can look at old Christmas carols or old gospel songs, or something like that, just for example, that have been preserved throughout time. And you can just you'll find the words that are outdated because they stick out like a sore thumb. It's just like so obvious, right? You're not going to miss it. You're not going to mistake it. And you're just going to take those terms and you're going to say, okay, what did they used to mean versus what do they mean today, and things like that. So labels and names and things like that change meaning over time. We've talked about that before. And I just think that if a person in their own mind, it has an attachment to one meaning of anything. A symbol, a word, a phrase, and then another person has a different attachment or meaning or perception of the same thing. You know, that's what happens. There's a divide there. There's division there, and it's just one way. You might argue or contemplate, is it a tactic, you know, or is it just a natural evolution of language? I don't know, but it's just, you know, you can just look at all the ways that there's division, but what's the result? This is important. We're getting down to the foundation of the message now. What's ultimately the result of division? Distrust. And I think that, you know, we may first approach contemplating all this by thinking that it's distrust that creates division, and maybe it is in some regards, but if you can find proof of these other things, it's kind of like that whole picture, and you can look this up online, like a big number 6 down on the ground and somebody standing there looking at it, like they're sure it's a number 6, but then there's someone on the opposite side looking at it and they're sure it's a number 9, because from their viewpoint it really is a number 9. Neither one of them's wrong, but they're going to argue like indefinitely. You see what I'm saying? So it's just really interesting, and it's this kind of stuff right here that you can just expand on and understand how, like, there's, for example, there's art that's interesting to some people and that's offensive to other people, and you know, you can just take something so many different ways to have meaning or not, or so I just encourage you to look at all those kind of things, right? But ultimately, if we can't see all the different ways that division is created, then we're never going to bridge that gap amongst us so that we can come to a place where we can trust one another again. Because what if, it's almost like we won't even go there and put ourselves out there to try and bridge that gap. Sometimes we can, and it's beautiful, right? But a lot of times, like on the broader scale, it's like we're not even willing to do that. And so I love the fact that there are a lot of people who seem to, I don't know, especially in the last 10 years, I would say, who seem to really, they're starting to pay attention to divisive tactics that are found online, especially. It's almost like when, you know, you have this great conversation going on in this community, this online community or whatever, and then there's just this person that wants to jump in and start, you know, stir up some trouble and slander and stuff like that. It's like you can see those words they're throwing out there, and, you know, one clue that there's something wrong is it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. It's odd. And so there has to be a motive there, and you know, people are starting to say, okay, hang on a second, first of all, is this person even real, or is this some kind of, like, you know, robot program to shut down this conversation? You know, I've heard people speculate on that, right? Who knows? But the point is, people are understanding if another person, if their only intent is to put down or divide, it's really obvious. But I just, you know, if we expand that concept in our mind and just, you know, look everywhere else, it's kind of like how are our lives affected by not trusting others? And is it that we don't trust others, or is it that we're trusting the wrong people or groups? And see, that's another thing when you talk about labels. I would just caution you to be careful about applying any kind of label to yourself that's associated with any kind of group at all, because it's kind of like, applying that umbrella term to yourself, there may be aspects to that umbrella term that don't match up with your ethics, right, and your line of thinking. But then if other people hear that label applied to you, they're going to make that assumption about you that you do check all these boxes associated with this label, see. And so I just caution you to think about that, you know. And so that's why I talk about the details a lot on my channel, and I do that for a reason, because if we just always go into the details with one another and we just don't throw around, you know, certain terms, it's sad. It's like common words have been turned into trigger words, I guess you might say. And what happens when these pop up in conversations, right? Division happens. Distrust happens, and yet it may not even be substantiated. So details are important, and that's why I like I said, I love details, and so I try not to. I feel like language itself has been exploited in a narcissistic type of way to shift the power in a particular way and disempower others and create division. It's the same thing, the same kind of tactics that happen. And again, I don't know if this is something that's just a natural thing with the evolution of language or not. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's interesting to look at how this works. If you just observe, if you just, you know, pay attention, then you can catch this kind of stuff. Okay? But it's the same tactics as like a narcissistically inclined person in your life. They want to divide you and isolate you from your friends and family members, and they want to retain the power. They want to keep information from you. They'll intentionally use language against you in word salad, or by switching out words, or throwing in fancy words that are not really necessary, or and I'm not just talking about obviously a healthy person that's using, you know, the proper term for something. I'm not talking about that. I mean, you can tell when it's intentional, because these people check all these other boxes of what has been determined as signs of narcissism. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, just, you know, if we can learn to identify divisive tactics, and we can learn to use the details to connect with one another, if we can identify that, you know, labels and names and, you know, particular umbrella terms or whatever, or if we can identify that they are used to for division purposes, or we can just say they do divide people, well then let's look at the opposite, flip it, and we can say, well then the details then can unite us. See, we don't need those labels per se, right? So that's just another avenue to freedom, another avenue for connection, because some people are worthy of trusting. Again, nobody's perfect, but there are people who are honest and good people. And I just, you know, it's kind of like, it makes you shudder if you think about, like, if you think about it a lot, it's almost like shakes you to your core. If you consider the fact that distrust has been normalized so much. And you know, I understand the Bible even talks about, you know, being very careful and not even trusting humans, but God. But see, we are unified. Also, it talks about being unified in the body of Christ. So you can tell you have to, it's all about discernment. It's all about discernment and wisdom and understanding and learning who you can trust and who you can't. You see what I'm saying? And so I just encourage you to think on these things, and don't when you can identify divisive tactics and terms. I think a lot of people sometimes feel pressured in their specific, like industry or whatever it is, like if you're in school or like college or workplace or whatever, to speak in a certain way with certain terms. And I understand certain terms are necessary to get the job done. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like what's expected, like within that work culture or whatever it is, that group, you know, this particular way of speaking, like corporate speak or whatever. I just encourage you to be careful with that, because I was going somewhere with that and I've already lost it. Oh yeah, because my point here is we can become so accustomed to this kind of stuff, you know, speaking this way, that it's almost like now we're playing this game without even realizing we're doing it. See? And we are perpetuating division within our own mind, amongst one another, and we don't even know we're doing it. So when you get right into the details can serve you well in a lot of ways. First of all, you're going to probably find that you may start to see solutions to problems that other people can't see, because those terms are like this structure that confines one's thinking. It's like subconsciously, if a person uses particular terms, they think that it's this umbrella term, and it's like just putting that out there in conversation in a sentence. It's going to, you know, encompass this whole thought process or idea, right? So it's like confining, it's like a prison in that way. It's limiting in that way with the structure of it, the way it functions. But if you bypass that and you speak, and I've done this in the workplace, to your supervisors or whatever, if they come to you, you know, asking for help with a problem or something, and you can think around that kind of stuff and you can think just on the details, you're going to see things that others can't see. So it's beneficial in a lot of ways in your career, in your personal life. It's going to help you connect with other people. So I just hope that this has been enlightening. I hope that it has been entertaining. I hope that you've enjoyed the message today. I hope most of all that it got the wheels turning for you. And again, I would love to hear your thoughts on just maybe a second channel versus like releasing other videos on this channel just under a different series or something, with regards to different avenues that we can take to heal and walk this journey, this path together, and just help one another and inspire one another in that way. So thanks again for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.